The woman at the door looked at me as if I were a stranger asking for money. I held my small travel bag against my chest. My fingers were cold, but I could not feel the wind anymore. "My name is Hannah," I said. "I think I am your daughter." The woman's face changed. She did not smile or invite me inside. She only turned her head and called for someone. That was the moment I understood something was wrong. I was 13 years old, 2 hours away from home, and standing in front of people I had never met. But only one day earlier, I had believed I already knew everything about my family. I grew up in a quiet mountain town called Pinebrook. Winters were long there. Snow covered the roofs, and ice formed along the narrow roads. Our house was small and old, but it always felt warm. The living room had a brown couch, a wooden table, and family photographs on every wall. My mother, Claire, worked at a bakery near the town square. She left home before sunrise and often returned with flour on her coat. She smelled like bread, sugar, and cinnamon. When I was little, I believed that was what all mothers smelled like. My father, Daniel, repaired cars in a garage behind a gas station. His hands were rough and often covered with dark oil. But when he hugged me, he was always gentle. He called me his little star. Every night, he checked my bedroom window, pulled the blanket over my shoulders, and told me not to stay awake reading. We were not rich. Our television was old, and my parents often repaired things instead of buying new ones. Still, I never felt poor. On Friday nights, we made popcorn and watched movies together. On Sunday mornings, my father cooked pancakes, even though he always burned the first one. My mother would laugh and place the burned pancake on his plate. "It belongs to the cook," she always said. Those simple moments made our home feel complete. There were things I did not notice when I was young. There were no photographs of my mother during pregnancy. There were no pictures of me in a hospital. My earliest baby photos showed me sleeping in a yellow blanket when I was already several months old. Whenever I asked about the day I was born, my mother gave short answers. "It was a difficult time," she would say. "But you came to us, and that was all that mattered." I accepted her answer because children usually believe the people who care for them. Everything changed one cold afternoon in November. School had ended early because snow was coming. I was upstairs working on a science project when I heard my Aunt Rachel enter the house. Rachel was my father's older sister. She spoke loudly, laughed loudly, and rarely kept her opinions to herself. I went downstairs because I wanted hot chocolate. As I reached the hallway, I heard my name from the kitchen. I stopped. "You cannot keep waiting," Rachel said. "Hannah is 13 now." My mother answered in a low voice. "We are not keeping it from her forever. Daniel and I only want to choose the right time." "The right time may never come," Rachel said. "What happens if she learns from someone else that she was adopted?" The word adopted seemed to stop the air around me. I stood beside the kitchen door, unable to move. For a few seconds, I thought they were talking about another Hannah. There had to be another girl with my name. Then my mother began to cry. "We were going to tell her next year," she said. "We wanted help from the family counselor. We did not want her to feel unwanted." Rachel became quieter. "She has a right to know about the woman who gave birth to her." My glass slipped from my hand and hit the floor. It did not break, but the sound filled the hallway. My mother rushed out of the kitchen. When she saw me, all the color left her face. I looked at her, but she suddenly seemed like a person I did not know. "Is it true?" I asked. She opened her mouth, but no words came. "Am I adopted?" Rachel stepped into the hallway behind her. She looked sorry, but I did not care. My father was still at work. I wished he were there, and at the same time, I was glad he was not. My mother slowly walked toward me. "Yes," she said. "You were adopted when you were 6 months old." The room seemed to move under my feet. "You lied to me. We should have told you earlier," she said. "I know that now. Who are my real parents?" "Hannah, please sit down." I don't want to sit down. I want the truth. My voice grew louder with every word. Years of small questions were suddenly rushing through my mind. Why did I have no hospital pictures? Why did my parents seem nervous when people talked about babies? Why did my birth certificate stay locked in my father's desk? My mother tried to take my hand, but I pulled away. Your birth mother was very young, she explained. She could not care for you. Your birth father was not ready to become a parent. So they gave me away. My mother's eyes filled with tears. They made an adoption plan. Your father and I had wanted a child for many years. When we met you, we loved you immediately. I heard the words, but they did not comfort me. In that moment, love did not feel important. The secret felt bigger than every birthday, every bedtime story, and every warm meal. You are not my real mother, I said. The words hurt her. I saw it on her face. But I was too angry to stop. I ran upstairs and locked my bedroom door. My mother sat outside for almost an hour. She did not knock again and again. She only stayed there. When my father came home, they spoke quietly downstairs. Later, he sat outside my door too. We made a mistake, he said. But loving you was never a mistake. I covered my ears with my pillow. That night, I waited until the house was silent. Then I opened the locked drawer in my father's desk with a spare key I had once seen him hide. Inside, I found old papers, letters, and a thin blue folder. My name was written across the front. The folder held my adoption records. Most of the private information had been covered, but one old letter included an address in a nearby city called Mill Haven. The letter was 12 years old. I did not know whether the people still lived there. I copied the address into my notebook. The next morning, my parents asked me to stay home from school. They wanted us to speak with an adoption counselor. My father said they would help me learn about my birth family, but we had to do it safely. I thought they were only trying to control me. I want to meet them now, I said. We cannot simply go to an old address, he answered. We need to check the information first. You had 13 years to check. My father looked down. You are right to be angry. But you cannot travel there alone. I said nothing more. After lunch, my mother went to the bakery to speak with her manager. My father drove to the counselor's office to make an appointment. They believed I was resting in my room. Instead, I packed a jacket, 2 shirts, a bottle of water, and the money I had saved from birthdays. I left through the back door. At the bus station, I almost turned around. The snow had started, and the cold wind cut through my coat. Then I remembered the word adopted. I bought a ticket to Mill Haven. During the 2-hour ride, my phone rang 6 times. First my mother called, then my father. Messages appeared on the screen. Please tell us where you are. You are not in trouble. We only need to know you are safe. I turned off my phone. Mill Haven was larger than Pinebrook. The streets were busy, and dirty snow lay near the sidewalks. I walked for almost 40 minutes before I found the address. The house was smaller than I had imagined. The front steps were broken, and one window was covered with cardboard. I stood at the door for a long time. Part of me expected a woman to open it, look into my face, and know exactly who I was. I imagined her pulling me into her arms. I imagined her crying and saying she had searched for me for years. Then I knocked. A tired-looking woman opened the door. Grey hair fell around her face, though she did not seem very old. My name is Hannah, I told her. I think I am your daughter. She stared at me before calling a man from another room. He was thin, with deep lines around his eyes. When he saw me, he whispered my name. For one hopeful second, I believed everything would be all right. Then a teenage boy appeared behind him. He looked at my bag and understood why I was there. His face became hard. You should not have come, he said. You should not have come, the boy said. His words were sharp, but the woman did not correct him. The thin man moved closer to the door. He looked at me carefully, as if he were searching for the baby he remembered. "How did you find us?" he asked. "I found an old address in my adoption papers." The woman crossed her arms. "Those papers should have stayed private." Her voice was cold. She did not sound like someone who had wondered about me for 13 years. I looked at the man again. "Are you my father?" He slowly nodded. "My name is Eric." I waited for him to say more, but he only looked at the floor. The woman beside him was not my birth mother. I understood that before anyone explained it. "Where is my mother?" I asked. Eric rubbed his face with one hand. "She left Millhaven many years ago. I don't know where she lives now." "You don't know?" "We stopped speaking after you were adopted." The teenage boy gave an angry laugh. "Why are you telling her all this? She is not staying here." Eric turned toward him. "Caleb, go inside." "No," the boy said. "We can hardly pay for food now. We don't have room for another person." "I am not asking for money," I said. But that was not completely true. I had come hoping for something. Maybe not food or a bed, but I wanted proof that I belonged to them. I wanted Eric to open the door wider. I wanted him to ask if I was cold. Instead, he stayed between me and the house. "Your adoptive parents must be worried," he said. "They are not my real parents." The words came out quickly, but this time they did not feel powerful. Eric looked at me with sadness. "They are the people who raised you. You gave me away." The woman sighed and looked down the street. She seemed worried that the neighbors might hear us. "Eric was 17, she said. "Your mother was 16. They were children." "I am 13, I answered. "I came all this way alone." No one spoke. The silence told me more than their words. I looked through the open door. The living room was dark and crowded. Clothes were piled on a chair, and several empty cans sat on the floor. A small child was watching television in the corner. She turned and looked at me, but the woman quickly pushed the door closer to her body. Eric took a step outside and closed the door behind him. "I am sorry," he said. "For what?" "For many things. Can I come inside for a few minutes?" He did not answer. Snow landed on his hair and shoulders. He looked tired, afraid, and much older than the age written on the adoption papers. "I don't think that is a good idea," he finally said. My throat became tight. "I only want to talk. My family is going through a difficult time." "Am I not your family?" He closed his eyes. I knew the answer before he spoke. "You have a family, Hannah. Go back to them." The pain was so sudden that I almost stopped breathing. I had spent the entire bus ride imagining this meeting. In every version, someone had wanted me. Maybe my birth mother had been forced to give me away. Maybe my father had searched for me. Maybe they had written letters that never reached me. I had created a beautiful story because the truth was too frightening. Now the truth was standing in front of me. Eric reached into his pocket and pulled out a few dollars. "Take this for the bus." I looked at the money, then at his face. "I don't want it. You should not be walking alone. I thought you might be happy to see me." His mouth opened, but no sound came. That was enough. I turned and walked away. Eric called my name once. I stopped, hoping he would come after me. But when I looked back, he was still standing beside the closed door. "I'm sorry," he said again. Then he went inside. I walked without knowing where I was going. The snow became heavier. Cars passed, sending dirty water onto the sidewalk. My phone was still turned off. My parents were probably calling the police, but I did not care. At that moment, I believed I had lost both families. One family had given me away. The other had hidden the truth. I felt as if my whole life had been built on a secret. After almost an hour, I reached a river near the edge of the city. A narrow path followed the dark water. There were no people nearby. The streetlights were far apart, and the evening sky had already become black. I sat on a cold wooden bench. My shoes were wet. My hands hurt from the cold, and my stomach was empty. I opened my bag and found the bottle of water, but I had forgotten to pack food. For the first time since leaving home, I began to feel truly afraid. I had only a few dollars left. The last bus to Pinebrook would leave soon, and I did not have enough money for the ticket. I turned on my phone. There were more than 30 missed calls. Messages filled the screen. "We are looking for you. Please answer. The police know where the bus went. You are not in trouble. We love you." The last message had come from my father only 3 minutes earlier. "Hannah, wherever you are, please turn on your phone. Your mother is beside me. We just want you home." I stared at the words. My anger was still there, but something else was rising inside me. Shame. I remembered my mother sitting outside my bedroom door. I remembered my father saying that loving me had never been a mistake. Then I remembered the closed door behind Eric. The river moved slowly below me. Pieces of ice floated near the edge. I stood and walked closer. The water looked deep and black. For a few frightening seconds, I thought about stepping forward. I did not truly want to die. I wanted the pain to stop. I wanted someone to understand how broken I felt. I wanted the adults in my life to feel the fear that had filled me since hearing the word adopted. My feet reached the wet ground near the riverbank. Then my phone rang. It was my mother. I watched the screen for several seconds before answering. "Hannah." Her voice was shaking. I could hear my father speaking in the background and someone else asking questions. "Where are you?" she asked. "Near the river." "Which river, sweetheart?" "I don't know." She began to cry. "Please move away from the water." I looked down at my shoes. "Hannah, listen to me," my father said after taking the phone. "Look around. Tell me what you see." I turned slowly. There is a bridge. It has green lights. What else? A closed restaurant. The sign says River House. Someone in the background repeated the name. My father's voice became calmer. "We know where you are. The police are close. Stay on the bench." "I don't want the police. They are not coming to punish you. They are coming to keep you safe. I don't want strangers. I want you." The line became quiet. Then my mother spoke again. "We are driving to Millhaven now. We are less than 40 minutes away. You came here?" "We started driving as soon as we knew which bus you took." The cold air entered my lungs in a painful breath. They had not stayed home waiting. They had been coming for me the whole time. I said terrible things, I whispered. "We can talk later," she answered. "Right now, I only need you to stay alive and stay safe." A police car arrived a few minutes later. A woman officer walked toward me slowly. She did not touch me or ask many questions. She took off her coat and placed it over my shoulders. "Your parents are on their way," she said. I sat inside the warm police car while we waited. The officer gave me a small packet of crackers and a cup of water. I ate slowly, trying not to cry. When my parents arrived, my mother got out before the car had fully stopped. She ran across the parking area and pulled me into her arms. Her hair was untidy, and she was still wearing her bakery shoes. My father came behind her. His face looked pale. He did not ask why I had left. He did not ask what had happened at the house. He only put both arms around us. For a long time, none of us spoke. The woman officer watched from a short distance. Then she quietly returned to her car. On the drive home, I sat in the back seat under a warm blanket. My mother turned around every few minutes to look at me. My father kept both hands on the steering wheel. His eyes stayed on the road, but I saw him wipe his face once. Halfway home, he stopped at a small restaurant that was still open. He bought soup, bread, and hot chocolate. We ate in the car because I did not want to go inside. My mother held the soup cup while I drank. That simple act broke something inside me. "I found him," I said. Neither of them asked who I meant. "My birth father." My mother's hand stopped moving. He has another family, I continued. They did not want me there. My father closed his eyes for a second. I am sorry. He told me to go home. My mother reached across the seat and took my hand. I looked at our joined hands. Hers were warm, but mine were still cold. Why didn't you tell me? I asked again. Because we were afraid, she said. Not because we were ashamed of you. Afraid of what? That you would look at us differently. That you would think our love was less real. I turned toward the window. The dark road stretched ahead of us. I did think that. I know. Maybe part of me still does. My mother nodded, even though the answer hurt her. You are allowed to feel confused. You are allowed to be angry. But you never have to face it alone again. When we reached Pinebrook, it was after midnight. The porch light was on. Inside, the house looked exactly as it had the day before. My school bag was beside the couch. My unfinished science project was still on the table. But I was no longer the same girl who had walked out of the back door. My mother warmed more soup. My father placed my wet shoes near the heater. They moved around me quietly, doing small things that no one at the other house had thought to do. Before I went upstairs, I stood in the living room and looked at them. I don't know what to call you right now, I said. My mother's face became still. You don't have to decide tonight, she answered. My father nodded. We will still be here in the morning. I went to my room and closed the door. For the first time in my life, I did not know whether that room was truly mine. Then I saw something on my bed. It was the blue adoption folder. Beside it was a note in my father's handwriting. No more secrets. When you are ready, we will read everything together. I did not open the blue folder that night. I sat on the edge of my bed and stared at it for a long time. Then I placed it inside my desk and turned off the light. Sleep did not come easily. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw two doors. One was the door in Mill Haven that had closed in front of me. The other was our front door in Pinebrook, with the porch light shining above it. One family had sent me away. Another family had crossed 2 hours of dark roads to bring me home. The next morning, I woke to the smell of pancakes. For a moment, I forgot everything. Then I saw the blue folder inside my desk, and the truth returned. I went downstairs slowly. My father stood near the stove. The first pancake was burned, just as it always was. My mother sat at the table with 3 cups of tea. Her eyes were tired and red. No one acted as if the night before had been normal. My father placed a pancake on his own plate. The burned one still belongs to the cook, he said. His voice was careful. I almost smiled, but the smile disappeared before it reached my face. We ate quietly. After breakfast, my mother told me that an adoption counselor named Mrs. Bennett would visit us that afternoon. You do not have to speak with her, she said. But she may help us answer your questions. I want to read the folder first. My parents looked at each other. Then my father nodded. We sat together in the living room. I placed the blue folder on the table and opened it. The first paper showed the name I had been given at birth. It was not Hannah. My birth mother had called me Lily. I whispered the name several times. It sounded soft and unfamiliar, like the name of another child. My mother watched me closely. You can use that name if you want, she said. Or you can keep Hannah. The choice belongs to you. Why did you change it? We did not want to erase your past, my father explained. But we were told that your birth mother had not made a final choice about your name. We chose Hannah because it means grace. I turned another page. There was a short letter from my birth mother. The paper was old, and some of the writing was difficult to read. She wrote that she was 16 years old. Her family had told her she could not keep a baby. She had no job, no safe home, and no support. She hoped I would grow up with people who could give me the life she could not. At the bottom, she had written one final sentence. I hope she never believes I gave her away because I did not love her. I read that line again and again. My anger did not disappear, but it changed. Until then, I had imagined that my birth mother had looked at me and simply decided she did not want me. The letter showed a more painful truth. She may have loved me, but love alone had not been enough to raise a child. There were also letters from my parents. Before the adoption, they had written about the home they hoped to give me. They described my future room, the park near our house, and the school I might attend one day. My father had written that he wanted to teach me how to ride a bicycle. My mother had written that she wanted to sing to me when I was afraid. They had imagined those moments before they ever held me. I looked around the room. They had done everything they promised. "Why did you hide all this?" I asked. My mother pressed her hands together. "At first, we thought you were too young to understand. Then each year passed, and telling you became harder. We kept waiting for the perfect moment," my father said. "There was no perfect moment. You should have trusted me." "Yes," he answered. "We should have." He did not defend himself. That helped more than an excuse would have. Mrs. Bennet arrived later that day. She was a calm woman with silver glasses and a soft voice. She did not sit across from me like a teacher. She sat beside me on the floor. She told me that children who learn about adoption suddenly can feel many things at once. They may feel loved and betrayed. They may feel thankful and angry. They may want answers, but fear the answers they will find. "You do not have to choose only one feeling," she said. "Your heart can hold many feelings at the same time." I looked at my parents. Can I still be angry with them? Yes. Can I still love them? Yes. That simple answer made me cry. For the next several months, our family met with Mrs. Bennet every week. Some meetings were peaceful. Others were difficult. I asked my parents questions they did not want to hear. Did they believe I would leave them one day? Did they feel sorry for me when they adopted me? Would they have loved me more if I had been their biological child? They answered every question. Sometimes their answers hurt. Sometimes they did not know what to say. But they stopped hiding. My father gave me a key to the drawer where all my records were kept. "No part of your life should be locked away from you," he said. My mother made a photo album that began with the day they first met me. There were more baby pictures than I had believed. They had simply been stored in a box because our old house had once suffered water damage. In one picture, my father was holding me while I slept. His face looked nervous and happy. In another, my mother was feeding me with a bottle. She was crying and smiling at the same time. On the last page, she placed a picture taken after I returned from Millhaven. It showed the three of us sitting together on the couch. None of us looked perfect. My eyes were swollen, my mother looked exhausted, and my father had not shaved. But we were together. Under the photograph, she wrote, "The day we began again with no more secrets." Returning to school was difficult. My friends wanted to know where I had gone. Rumors had already started. One student said I had run away because my parents were cruel. Another said the police had found me stealing. I did not know how to explain the truth. For several weeks, I told no one. Then I spoke to my closest friend, Sophie. I expected her to look shocked, but she only listened. When I finished, she asked, "Do you want me to call you Hannah or Lily?" "Hannah," I answered. "Then you are Hannah." Her response made everything seem simple for a moment. Life slowly became normal again, but it was a new kind of normal. My parents still made mistakes. So did I. Sometimes I became angry without warning. A family tree project at school made me cry. A movie about adoption kept me awake all night. But I no longer ran away from those feelings. I spoke about them. One evening, while my mother and I washed dishes, I finally asked the question she had been waiting to hear. "Can I call you Mom again?" She put down the plate in her hands. "You never have to ask permission." I looked at her. "I am sorry for saying you were not my real mother." She touched my face. I was hurt, but I understood. You had just learned that your life was not exactly what you believed. You are my real mother. Her eyes filled with tears. And you are my real daughter. My father came into the kitchen carrying a broken lamp. He saw us crying and looked worried. What happened? Nothing bad, my mother said. I walked to him and hugged him. He put the lamp down and held me tightly. Welcome back, little star, he whispered. Years passed. I never returned to the house in Millhaven. Eric did not contact me, and I did not contact him. For a long time, I believed that meant I had not mattered to him. As I grew older, I began to see the situation differently. Eric had been a frightened teenager when I was born. Years later, he was still living inside his own difficult choices. Understanding him did not remove the pain. It only stopped the pain from controlling me. I also searched for my birth mother when I turned 18. With help from an adoption support group, I learned that she had moved to another state. She had married and had 2 children. I wrote her one letter. I told her that I was safe. I told her that I had grown up in a loving home. I did not blame her, and I did not ask her to become my mother. Several months later, she replied. Her name was Natalie. She wrote that she had thought about me every year on my birthday. She said giving me up had been the hardest choice of her life. She asked whether I wanted to meet. I was not ready. Instead, we exchanged letters for 2 years. When we finally met, it happened in a quiet cafe halfway between our homes. Natalie cried when she saw me. I did not run into her arms. I did not feel the sudden connection that people often show in movies. But I felt something real. I felt kindness. I felt sadness. I felt peace. We spoke for 3 hours. She showed me a photograph of herself at 16. I looked very much like her. Before we left, she asked, "Do you hate me?" "No," I said. "But I already have a mother." She nodded through her tears. I know. Natalie became part of my life, but not the center of it. We send messages on birthdays and sometimes meet for lunch. I know my half-sister and half-brother now. Our relationship is quiet and careful. It does not replace anything. It simply adds another piece to my story. I am 25 years old now. I work as a nurse in a small medical clinic outside Pinebrook. I chose that work because I remember what it felt like to be frightened and alone. I cannot solve every problem for the people who come through our doors. But I can listen. I can bring a blanket. I can sit beside someone who is waiting for difficult news. My parents are older now. My father's hair is gray, and his hands move more slowly when he repairs things. My mother left the bakery last year because standing all day became too hard. I visit them every weekend. My father still burns the first pancake. My mother still says it belongs to the cook. Sometimes we speak about the night in Millhaven. We no longer avoid it. My parents have apologized many times for keeping the adoption secret. I have apologized for leaving and for the cruel things I said. None of us can change that day. But we can understand it. On my 25th birthday, my father gave me the old blue folder. "You should keep this now," he said. Inside, I found one new photograph. It showed my parents standing at the bus station on the day they first brought me home. My mother was holding me against her chest. My father stood beside her with one hand on my tiny back. They both looked terrified. They also looked completely in love. I placed that photograph beside the picture of us after Millhaven. The 2 pictures show different beginnings. One was the beginning of our family. The other was the beginning of our honesty. For many years, I believed I found the truth at 13. But I only found part of it. The truth was not simply that I had been adopted. The deeper truth was that family could be complicated. Love could include fear, mistakes, forgiveness, and second chances. Blood connected me to the people who gave me life. But daily love connected me to the people who helped me live it. When I think about that frightened girl beside the river, I wish I could sit next to her. I would tell her not to step closer to the water. I would tell her that the closed door in Millhaven was not the end of her story. Most of all, I would tell her to look toward the road. 2 people were already driving through the snow to find her. They had been coming for her all along. Sometimes, the people who give us life are not the people who teach us how to live. So what truly makes a family, blood, truth, or the love that chooses to stay?